Hey guys, it's LOL underscore Redbun here, and today we're going to be talking about making money in Maplestory. A little disclaimer I'll give you at the start of this video is that I play Reboot on Maplestory. That is in the Reboot server, the Reboot world, which plays a little bit differently than the other worlds. So the methods I'm going to be giving you in this video may or may not pertain to you, and there may or may not be better methods such as using the marketplace and stuff like that in order to make tons and tons of money. That being said, we'll go ahead and start off with the video. This is my third time attempting to record it, and hopefully I can get all my stuff out in clear, concise thoughts for you guys so that you can, learn as we go. First and foremost, I'd like to mention that I will be mentioning grinding as a potential Mesos source in this video, and as such we are currently at the brink of 606 million Mesos, and so you can use the duration of this video as a rough time gap to see how much money, and I'm not optimized for making money, nor am I trying to make sure I'm making the most money, but you can see how much money I make simply by just grinding monsters for EXP, and use that as a gauge for how effective farming monsters can be to gain money in Maplestory. As I just mentioned, our first topic is farming monsters for money. Monsters in Maplestory all drop a specific amount of cash. This often goes up as you level up. In Maplestory, as the level of the monsters increase, so does the amount of money that they drop. I know this is not always the case. At least last time that I checked, there are some monsters in Maplestory that have had their levels adjusted, in which case they may drop a little bit less than the other monsters that came before them. However, typically, as you level up in Maplestory, the monsters that you will be facing will drop more and more money. So, needless to say, the higher level your character is, the higher amount of Mesos you can get from farming monsters. Farming monsters, though, is something that takes a lot of time for less payout in terms of what you can get in an amount of time, but it's also the absolute baseline for how much money is worth. If you think about it, the other ways of getting it have limitations in terms of how often you can do it, and stuff like that, that make them not as effective if you're willing to put in the time to absolutely grind down monsters and defeat tons and tons of them. Now, mentioning that, I think it's also important to mention that grinding can be very, very mentally tiring. A lot of times, if you're farming the same map without much change for multiple hours on end, it can be very, very mentally straining to be doing the same thing repeatedly for a very long period of time. That is why a lot of people in general don't like having their jobs and stuff like that. It's not necessarily because they couldn't ever get excited about it, but more so once you've done it a million times, it's just like, it gets really, really boring. And my warning for you, unless you're the type of person that can handle it, is that you shouldn't make it like a job. Games are to be played for enjoyment. So if you're trying to play Maplestory for enjoyment, I wouldn't worry too much about, oh, I have to make this much money per hour, I have to do this, I have to do this. I wouldn't strain yourself over playing the game, and just like anything else, I wouldn't strain yourself over making money in the game. I don't think it's important enough, while it does affect your gameplay a whole ton, I don't think it's important enough to risk your enjoyability over. So I would recommend keeping it to 2 to 3 hours max for most people. For me, I find that's the timer that works best for me. I know for some other people that may be way long, or maybe it's super short, but for me, that is kind of where I fall, and I think most people probably fall within that range. Probably realistically between the 1 to 3 hour range. Farming money can be, perfectly done fine with just grinding mobs, and in particular, if you have accessories that give you extra Meso obtain rates, you can actually speed it up significantly and get a large portion of money more out of monsters. So that'll definitely affect your gameplay as you go. But that's enough talking about farming. It's a very simple concept. It's the absolute baseline of making money, and it's what makes these other three options look so feasible and so good, especially for the earlier game. First and foremost, we're going to talk about bosses. Bosses are another key part of Maplestory, and they're probably the reason that you're even looking at making money, because making money gets you stronger gear, which lets you do more damage, which in general either A, speeds up your training, or B, makes your character stronger so that you can take on certain milestones like bosses. So, as you may know if you've fought a boss before in Maplestory, all bosses drop power crystals according to the level of difficulty you took them on, and all of these will drop or sell in the free market to a man named the Collector for a large sum of Mesos. This can be anywhere from like, I don't think I've ever seen one go for under 1 million, but maybe I have. I'm guessing high 100,000s bare minimum, all the way up to like highest I've seen I think is like 30 or 40 mil. The payout from these is nice in the sense that you get to take on a boss, which is an enjoyable activity, as well as you make a large sum of money at the end of it. And for newer players, fighting easier bosses is a really sustainable way of gaining a decent amount of money pretty fast. I know when I first started out, I would get on all my characters and fight Zachem just to get the money from him, as well as level up my characters in the process. And that's how I got a lot of my first Legion characters to 140 while making money. And it's actually really nice in the sense that it's a fast thing. You make some decent money from it, and it's just good. The thing I should note here, though, is that the Collector will only buy a certain amount of these power crystals per week. I think it's somewhere in the range of 50 to 60. I could be wrong. I don't know if it's randomized or not, but I know I saw the number 50 in my free market at some point, and so that's my reference number. Once you've sold this many crystals to him, he will no longer buy them, and he will no longer be able to profit off of making money off of the bosses. And as such, it's something you need to watch out for, because if you take on tons of daily bosses throughout the week and you sell all their crystals, maybe at the end of the week you fight some weekly bosses and you can't sell their crystals, which are worth significantly more, because you can only take them on once a week. They're also much harder bosses too. So my recommendation to you is that you only take on these the normal bosses after you've taken on the weekly bosses you can face, because you want to maximize the money you get. Other than that, I would just enjoy the run and fighting the bosses. It's always a good time, and I'd suggest just enjoying it as it comes. Next are the 2-dimensional mirror ways of making money, and these are the other two that I really like. They're usually the fastest, and they're really solid ways of making money, and those are Ursus and Maplestory, both of which are really short time commitments depending on how strong you are, and how strong, in the case of Ursus, your party is. For the first one we'll cover is Maplestory, and Maplestory works very simply. It's a little theme dungeon that you have to plow your way through. I think it's like 5 or 6 maps, and then a boss at the end, and it's fairly easy to beat from what I've experienced with it. In my case, I clear it in about 2 minutes, and you can clear it twice per day. So for me, it's a 4-minute time commitment, and I think each run nets me somewhere in the range of 30 to 40 million Mesos. So for me personally, I get I can't do quick math, but something like, oh geez, so like 60 million ish, 60 to 80 million times 7 basically is what I'm getting per week on this. And how Maplestory works is you clear these little theme dungeons, and you get a accumulated wage that you can talk to Lulu Spinel about in order to check in on it. Once a full week has passed, you can collect your wage, and if you work for all of the days of the week, you will get, I think, the full wage. And if you didn't work for all the days of the week, so if you only did, let's say you only did 10 runs out of the possible 14, you'll get paid, I think, and this may not be the case anymore, I may just be wrong, but I think you get paid about half of what you would have been paid otherwise. So you always want to try to do all of the days of the week with this one. Otherwise, it's not like it's not worth it, but you will get a significant amount of money less. So I would always try to complete it. I don't know if that's completely true or not, or that was an event thing that was going on when I first started doing it, but it was super significant at the start for me. Anywho, at the end of the week, you can talk to Lulu Spinel by navigating to the Maple Tour map again through the Dimensional Mirror, which, by the way, is found in any town, or through the quick move in a town that has the Dimensional Mirror in it. And if you talk to her, you can collect your wages at the end of the week, and she'll give you all the money that you've accumulated. That's how that one goes. It's pretty simple, but from what I've heard, it's a little bit harder on newer players, so it's not necessarily the best way to get money for newer players. But for people who have established characters, you should be able to clear it really easily and get tons of money. Next is Ursus. And Ursus is a party quest that you don't need a party for. It'll queue you up and you can get into a group of, I believe it's 18 people, and you all fight this bear boss. And you're like, oh, bear boss? Well, don't I have to be strong for that? Well, no, because how it works usually is you'll end up with someone strong in your party by most chances, and they will do tons of damage, and all you have to do is make sure you hit Ursus. And then based on how your party does, the payout is adjusted, and I think you can get like 30 million per run on this. And during maybe it's 30 million, or maybe it's 30 million during 2 times. It's one of the two. But during events, there's often Ursus 2 times time windows that are about 3 hours long. And if you manage to do Ursus during these time windows, the amount of money that is dropped by Ursus will be doubled. So like I said before, I'm not sure if it's 30 million during the 2 times, or if it's 30 million outside of the 2 times. But you can get a very large sum of money from Ursus very, very quickly. And unlike Maple Tour, it's immediately given to you. So it's a really good way for newer players who don't have access to the ability to kill really high tier bosses or to grind higher level maps to get tons of money very, very quickly. And that's it. I don't really have much more to talk about in terms of gaining money in Maplestory. These are the 3 or 4 methods that I use. I really don't grind for Mesos all that much while training, or for the pure purpose of grinding Mesos. I almost exclusively do it while training, and that's kind of just something that happens. It's never me going out to train in order to earn Mesos. It just kind of happens because I'm training. That being said, I prefer the other methods a whole ton. Like I said, for me, Ursus is probably, depending on the party, like a 30-second time commitment, all the way up to maybe a minute, minute and a half. Maple Tour is 2 minutes, and both of these you can do twice. So that's something like 4 minutes for Maple Tour, and let's just call it 3 to be safe for Ursus. That's 7 minutes of time commitment. Add in bosses, and both of these are very, very simple. Oh, I'm awful. I'm sorry. They're very, very simple ways to get these large amounts of money very, very quickly. And realistically, they're pretty simple to achieve. And as such, I would take advantage of them as soon as you can in order to gain money. Like, even if you're new into the game, I'd start doing Ursus as soon as you can do it, in order to start putting money into your pockets so that later on in the game, you have tons of money to be spent on item enhancement and stuff like that. Anywho, that is genuinely it for me. I don't really have much else to say. So let's check on our money. We're at 625 million Mesos, and I don't remember our starting point, to be honest. So I will do the calculation on screen for you here. And with that being said, I think that's it for this video. And I think I've covered everything in terms of how I gain money. And hopefully this information is either A, new to you, or some of it's new to you, or something. I really hope it's helpful. Like I said, I am not all-knowing when it comes to Maplestory. However, I will provide you the information that I know and do my best to help keep you guys informed for newer returning players that need this information. Like I said in the last Maplestory based video, I don't really have a amount of content that I have lined up for Maplestory, and I don't really plan to post stuff regarding me leveling up characters and stuff like that. I may at some point, but my main thing is I want to cover information. So if you have any other questions or things you want me to make videos on regarding Maplestory, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll get those videos out to you as soon as possible. This was actually a video requested by Choi, who is someone who has commented on quite a few of my Maplestory videos and actually is on my friends list. We haven't gotten to do anything in Maplestory together yet, but if you guys want to add me in Maplestory or anything like that, feel free to. I'm more than happy to talk to you guys and get to know you guys. That'd be really, really awesome. Anywho, thank you for the request, Choi, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, bye guys.